I don't want to do something that I don't want to do just because it makes money. I make enough money without doing things I don't like to do.
It sounds so damn simple.
Someone asked me who's in Des Moines, who joined that program, like, how should I go about this? I said, with integrity. Whatever you're doing is with integrity. If you want to do it for a minute, do it however you want. If you want to do it as a career, do it with integrity. And how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? That old cliche phrase. Take a few calls and now you can give it a shot. My logic with that is, and this is the same for any new investor, guys, you can practice, but the script that you're going to follow isn't going to be how the conversation goes ever. Like, it's literally never going to be that way. And if it is, it's probably someone trying to understand your script.
Like me.
Yeah. Yeah, we get it a lot. Like, well, I want to be at your drip campaigns, all that stuff. Like, it's.
What's the lowest cost thing to do for beginning realtors, marketing wise?
Realtors?
Or excuse me, beginning like investors, sorry. Yeah.
Marketing wise? Literally do door knocking and cold calling.
How do you like cold call? Give us the process to find the number,
Yep.
like vet the list. Let's go through that process. Because door knocking, and let's do a door knocking too.
Sure. So door knocking, cold calling, both of those are pretty much the same. Door knocking is a little more visual activation, and you can drive for dollars ahead of time. As you're driving for dollars, you're looking for things that look potentially distressed, right? I'm a big fan of list stacking. So what I mean when I say that is, okay, I've got a list of houses that I drove past that I really thought looked kind of shady, or like they need something done with them. And then on top of that, I'm going to compare and see if those addresses are on something from like PropStream that says they're high equity, they've had ownership over 6 years. Like, these are all triggers that you can play with and figure out, but those are like, so ours are high equity, at least 35% equity, owned for at least 6 years. I prefer to search for 3 bedrooms exclusively. I don't love marketing for 2s or 1s. 4s get a little weird. They tend to be held longer and they don't resell for quite as much. So we look for 3 bedrooms, and then we put zip code parameters on there as well. So where we want to be primarily.
In your marketing, you talk to the location, hey, like walkie homeowner type thing, or you find out walkie, but maybe.
Yeah, no. So I focus on Des Moines proper. Okay. It depends where you're at. So when you're starting out, yes, you're going to talk to that type of client. You want to know your area, right? I started going on appointments in November again, which is rare because I haven't been for 3 years. But one of the big pieces when you live somewhere is to use that context of where you are and things that you might do. I'm sure someone's going to repeat this, and that's totally fine. But what I like to tell people is I'm not going to screw you over because I'm going to bump into you at high V. So I'm going to give you an honest answer at an honest price point, and you know I'm going to have to make money off of this. I might bump into you at high V. If I'm over by Ingersoll, I might use Price Dropper. I try to anchor that as the actual location, use landmarks around me, et cetera, because that really increases. Is that marketing? Maybe, yeah. You know, it's in-person marketing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's hard to articulate it, right? You can't put it's bringing someone into the context and talking to, hey, homeowner, like this, I'm going to see you. I literally live at XYZ Main Street.
Exactly. Yeah, like we use our home address. I live in Sherman Hills, so I tell people all the time, I used to live in North Heights, now I live in Sherman Hill. People love that. You get them talking about historic houses, that kind of stuff. Whether they live in historic or not, they know what Sherman Hill is. And they've seen the transition. Woodland Heights used to be Ponderosa. People love to tell you about their industry knowledge, if you will. It makes it very relatable. That in-person branding is imperative. So if we're sending out mailers, when we used to do it, we used address specific, which is kind of the industry standard, is to call them by name and use the address that you keep pulling in. I'm not a big fan of that personally. It feels very invasive.
Have you been, you're a data person, have you ran tests on both sides?
Yeah.
And you've seen success?
I found that I don't like mailing because I get too many fuck you calls back. Like I've got a cool one on my phone.
So you don't do mailings anymore?
I don't do a lot. I'll do very targeted inside of our already nurtured process.
But when you did, you saw a better return for non-address specific.
And I will say, like, the conversion potential for those FUs is still there, but I never followed up on them Those people that are angry with you probably need more help than the ones that aren't. I was never a fan of nuisance marketing, so I never dig into that type of stuff.
Do you have any nuisance, like bankruptcy, no
I don't like
death,
dealing with
divorce,
desperate people.
nothing? Good for you. I don't either. I just was like,
We buy a lot of like burnouts, right? That's
Yeah.
a different type of nuisance. So I want to be clear on that. Like we do a ton of burnt down interiors, but that's a city level nuisance. And it's a true pain in someone's ass that they want to go away because there's going to be a $85,000 demo bill following. So yeah, don't buy those as a new investor, guys. It's horrible. Like unless you have a full blown construction company, don't try it. You can't wholesale them because you have to sign an agreement with the city for actual put together on it. They give you time frames. Unless you really, really like construction and want to learn the hard way, skip those.
it sounds so darn simple.
I know. I'm sorry, man.
It's good. It's good.
I
I just
fluff it.
trying
Want me
to
to
answer.
fluff it?
No, it's good. It's why we get along because I'm the same way. It is what it is. Figure it out. Have a lot of conversations like buying on contract, selling on contract. Where is your business at in that world? What do you project for the future? Des Moines or Central Iowa in that capacity?
There's a lot of people doing it really wrong, is what I project.
What's wrong?
We buy a lot of notes that weren't put together correctly. That's the right answer. When I say not put together correctly, there was no underwriting done, there was no RMLO utilized, there was no,
And they needed it.
and they needed it. Yeah,
Technically.
under Frank Dodd, you have to have those type of things unless it's business to business. It's not that hard to get over that hump if you are going to do contract for deed resales. The other workaround is if you're selling to businesses, it's not required, as far as I know at this point. That's primarily what we're selling to on contract right now is businesses.
When you say it's to an LLC,
Yep.
right? So not to someone who is living in the property.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
To an LLC that's going to use it as a rental. We've been doing it on commercial quite a bit. That's working really well. With rates increasing on the bank side, my fan favorite with contract for deeds is I can pay $150,000 or something, turn around and sell it for $250,000, and I've got this ghost equity, right? I'm charging 10% interest on ghost equity. I mean, there's just a ton of arbitrage there.
It's a good thing, right?
That's a good thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Without
not
question.
covered,
Yeah. Within a year, guys, you need a website. Like you're losing so.
We're talking to wholesalers, investors,
Everybody.
all across the
Yeah.
board.
Yeah. You need a place for social presence to exist, and Facebook's not it.
Can you show your face on that?
What do you
Because
mean?
like I see a lot of people that are investors, but they don't show their face on.
That's because they do shady.
No, but that's a lot of them. But a lot of them, I just don't think they comprehend that. Like you need to sell. Like your face needs to be on that. It's not. They're not all shady. I know you have probably jaded experience.
I have jaded
get it,
experiences.
I get it.
No, but like if you're afraid to put your face on something, especially in a small market like this, it says something about your brand. I don't care whether you're shady or not. Like, be able to own that. I don't want to show up at a house that someone doesn't know who I am at or who my team is at. So they know who we are before we get there, whether it's a text message with my team's face, whether it's my website with our team members on it. Like, I can't tell you, like, we walk up to an appointment, me and my dad, and it's like, oh, very own Father Bob, great, okay. Because our radio ad says very own Father Bob. They've been on our website, they've converted into those pieces. So it's like this catchy phrase, but people feel very comfortable right out of the gate. Now, presently, my uncle answers the phones, and so does my sister-in-law. So it's very family-orientated, and we push the hell out of that.
Is that intentional, or is it just like a really great working family?
It wasn't intentional to start, but we have a really great working family now. After a lot of counseling, coaching, and front yard roles. But yeah,
Knowing your dad literally.
yeah. There was a house out 46th Street, and me and Bob were sitting there screaming at each other in the front yard because he was doing something, and Jake, our acquisitions guy at the time, came over and was like, "Can we take this to the backyard?" And simultaneously, we both told him to F off. So yeah, no, it was like family side guys. Be very careful working with family.
How about like in conjunction with that? So you just partnered with or bought into some other businesses, right? We don't have to get too deep in that
Sure.
as much as you want, but partnerships in general. What is your mentality and perspective on what
Fair
people
question.
should think about when
Yeah.
joining or doing a partnership?
I hate partnerships. For the last 10 years, I've said don't do partnerships. Usually what I found in partnerships is one person pulls more weight. Initially, what I found is one person is willing to pull the weight and then one person has the money. So that's the natural division. but very quickly the money becomes easier to find, and then that division of labor never swings back the other way. If you have a functional partnership where you guys are all using some type of good labor division, cool. I'm a big fan of not equal partnerships. Like the companies that I have bought into, I'm a minor, I own less than a quarter of the company. Part of that's for banking reasons, like I don't have to personally guarantee anything, which is cool, but anyway. And there's a very clear, like, this is my role inside the company, right? I can come in, I can pivot the ship this way.
A job description.
Very much a job description, yeah.
Or ownership description.
Yeah, and the other mistake that I see inside of partnerships a lot is understanding how profits work. And that's really what you own inside of a company is the profit. The net profit at the end of the year is what you should be dividing. But what I see happening all the time is throughout the year, there's distributions that are unequal to partners, which creates a ton of animosity towards the end of that. If one partner is pulling more labor, that person needs to be on a salary that's very specific, and then distributions, contributions need to be proportional based off of that.
When you see people do partnerships when there is no money, like they aren't making any money yet, they can be successful. What does someone need to think about when in that relationship?
Division of labor.
A job description for each person.
Yes.
And if they
In a
don't pass up to
assessment.
a consequence for not doing a job description.
Yep. In all the companies that I've put my name on now, part of our partnership agreement is at any time I can offer to buy you out, but you can also accept my offer to buy you out. If I offer you $20,000 to buy your company, you can say, cool, I accept that, but I'm buying your share at a proportional amount.
It's like a boomerang.
It's a boomerang, yeah, which keeps everything equal, but it makes it really clean for these new partnerships where there's nothing to go on. And also, in my experience, it's cut down on a lot of legal battles.
That's fascinating. How did you hear about that, think about that? What groups are you part of that was vetted out at?
Yeah, so that came from Multipliers, which was defunct now, but it was a group of guys going to show that you're netting at least $1 million a year to join. And average like net worth in the group was 12 million bucks. That's where that came from. What I would recommend is joining cheap masterminds. Not expensive ones.
What's cheap? Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Under $15,000. Like there's no reason to invest in a mastermind beyond that. There's a lot of like fortune builders and that kind of stuff. Probably not useful. I will also tell you, I know most of the influencers, like most of the stuff they give away on the internet for free is all you're going to get inside of that group. Make sure that the community that's inside of that group is vetted. My favorite way of doing that is be like, hey man, can I test drive this for a week before I commit to buying?
How long have you done this business, or at least a portion of like 10, 15 years?
In Des Moines, I've been done it since 14. I invested for 4 years before that, and I've been selling since 2008.
Yeah. 1 or 2, 3 things. What do you failed at and you're like,
Horrible at
I'm
accounting.
done doing that?
Yeah. So I failed at good relationships, not partnerships, but hiring the right people and expecting them to help me in the way that they said they could. Not employee-based. Employee-based has gone really well. It's the third
Because they're all family.
Well, they were always all family. And honestly, dude, like, my mom is still horrible to work with. Like, on a generalized basis.
I know,
this is
there's
gonna
no
be
way I'm
sour,
working with my mom.
but like, dude, she can talk to me like nobody else can, and it's nuts. So the family piece sucks, but I will also tell you, like, the buy-in there is exponential over what an employee is. So if you're in tough times, like, it's a lot easier for them to pull a 60-hour work week and not care. What I mean when I say partnerships and relying on people sucks is hiring the wrong experts to help you along the way, whether that's a mastermind for way too much money, or I spent, I don't know, $45,000 on accounting one year. That was horrible. I hired a CFO that we spent $200K on. That was horrible. A lot of bad lessons learned there.
How quickly do you know those were bad?
Or after taxes were filed, so there's a revision that was done, and yeah. Where I'm going with that, though, and the takeaway from that is figure out how to do it your damn self before you try to hire someone that's an expert, because you don't know how to hire a decent expert until you know what you're doing. Literally learn from the base up on everything. That's been I've tried to outsource. The companies I step into, they've tried to outsource, and that's the reason I'm here now, right? Is a lot of companies try to go to this top tier sales affiliate to do their conversions for them, and then, oh no, we're paying them way too much money to underperform what we were doing internally. Number 2 is I don't use VAs. because I like to work with people that I can see and touch.
Not going there.
Yeah, I know.
I get it.
Yeah, but like, I want to be able to share space with you on a consistent basis, and if you're screwing up, I want to be able to understand, is it a business screw up or is it a personal life overlap? Because at any given moment, when you start managing people, whether it's literally a person answering your phones or a partner that's going on appointments with you, if they're not showing up in the right way, there's a reason for it, and usually it's not a business reason, it's a personal reason.
If you're not there, you can't articulate that. You can't see that conversation and be like, yeah, Jim, that was not adequate. But
Exactly.
the conversion, if you just looked at the data, you just be like, didn't work.
Data takes a long time to reflect error, and it's not until you hear negative feedback from a customer that you know it. Even with good audits and advice, right? Like we used to use VAs and we'd audit every 8th call to see how they went.
VAs to take calls.
Yep.
Did you use VAs in any other way?
We use VAs for some data population stuff, but again, it's hard to overlap the shared duties, everything like that when you're using VAs. Like again, in person, people, a lot easier to see if they're busy, not busy, right? I worked virtually. I know how busy I was. Not that busy. My boss didn't know that. I was still performing according to the data grade.
The work from home connection.
Yeah.
Sweet. Anything else?
Those are the two that come to mind offhand, brother.
Q&A. Do that. Ryan, don't jump too high. No. I forgot to mention, by the way, Ryan helps me sponsor this. Him and I both started this together. He basically had coffee with me and he's like, Darson, you need to do this group. You need to run it. So Ryan Wickstrom, Home Life Brothers, if anyone needs any construction.
He loves nuisance properties, guys. Buy burn downs.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'll burn them. He will not burn them down. He will make them.
We only do bugs on full of roaches. Right. So make sure I get the story right. Sell Now was 2015.
No, so now we rebranded from Quincy Real Estate Quincy Construction in 2020.
Or okay, so 2015 first,
14 was the first year here.
14. When did you quit John Deere?
I quit John Deere in 14.
So
January of 14.
the question was, when did Mitch quit John Deere, quit his full-time job to do real estate investing? Real estate investing, full-time.
Yep.
So upon that, you said you had a lead up period. How long did it take to start drawing a meaningful salary? Take a little, put it in the pocket.
Yeah. Yep. The question is, when did I leave John Deere and when did I have a meaningful salary as a result of it?
Depends on how much you live on.
Yeah, it does depend on how much you live on. I will say so the lead up period is the important piece of the question, right? So we moved here in 2014. So it was literally like, this was a planned exit, which is really shitty looking back. But I worked at Deere. I had them move me here to work virtually. And then I was like, hey, cool, thanks for that. By the way, I'm leaving. In that time frame, been virtually investing in Northwest Indiana with contractors. And then we had been searching and scouring the Des Moines marketplace for about a year and a half, 2 years. Before that, I was running an investment firm in Southern Indiana while I was in college. I did that with a professor for a while.
Investor, like, you guys are buying rentals?
So he
like
ended
money
up
buying.
running an oil business. Literally, like he shorted some oil and then just made buco bucks and was like, I don't know how to spend it all. I was like, I can buy some real estate. Yeah. So we figured that out in a hurry. Back to the initial question of how long did it take? I'd say about 3 years of intentional practice. And during that period, we were only doing 5 to 6 houses a year. When I made the pull to leave Deere, we had a $2 million project lined up. So we did a 24,000 square foot stud down remodel on apartment complex. That first year, I made out more than my salary. It was a very intentional, like, okay, this is the quitting point. Don't quit your job and do real estate immediately. Like, figure out something else. It's not what it cracks up to be, and most people lack the grit to actually follow through long term. It's just the reality, guys. Like,
Very true. Any other questions? Tony.
You still hold a portfolio?
yeah.
Question is, does Mitch and his company still hold the portfolio?
I don't own a portfolio of rentals. I own a portfolio of notes and contracts. Yeah. So we got out of the rental business. Too much mental bandwidth. Plenty of money, but too much mental bandwidth. Yeah.
Help me out with that decision making process. Because there's a lot of people here that are like, I want to buy long-term rentals, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to retire
Yeah.
And it's gonna be my 401k, whatever. Help us
I don't
understand
care
how
what
that works.
class you go into, whether it's A, B, or C, you're gonna get a lot of tenant damage. And it's really hard as a construction company and a craftsman basis to watch what you put together get torn up every 2 to 3 years. While the money's still there, it just hurts.
Mentally,
Yeah.
not as much financially.
Not
Financially,
as
it
much
still
fun.
works.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
mentally, it hurts.
yeah, mentally it hurts. And fair?
Got you both looked at each other.
Yeah, it hurts a little bit financially. That's fair. Yeah, and, I mean, you're coming up. The workaround for that is making sure you are building in reserves on your monthly basis to pay for that, so you're not getting hit with that $15,000 turnover at the end. As you get to scale, we had 160 round units before I exited. That was 19 to 20. I just exited holdings. When you get to scale, we use 25% of our portfolio. The new ones that we bought, we would just take a 5 to 8% maintenance reserve until it got to a threshold. Once you have 60, 70 grand sitting around in that bank, it replenishes pretty easily at scale. It doesn't if you're doing onesie twosie type stuff. So make sure that rental, don't spend the money that you're making on cash flow, hold that towards later, because the back end, you're hoping on appreciation.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, everyone says it.
Everyone says it.
Again, it's as simple as actually doing it. This is financial discipline. It's marketing discipline. Like grit and discipline are the two things that make any business successful, whether it's real estate, whether it's traditional investing, or traditional agenting, or working a 9 to 5. Consistency and discipline.
Any other questions? Hold on. Yep. Go ahead.
Could you elaborate on the notes? So who's servicing that debt, and usually how long are you holding it for?
The question is, who's servicing our debt and how long do I hold it for? We service our own debt and we hold them until they pay off. I have no intention of forcing people out, and I work with them as much as I can on default.
Who is them? Is it usually contractors or people that are living in houses?
Generally businesses. Well, we do a lot of note investing. We also buy quite a few established contracts that would bring pre-franked odds, so that makes it an easy transition. We bought a few ribbons of those.
What'd you say, ribbons?
Yeah, so 20, 30 properties at a time. So a great place for that, just trade secret. Doctors, chiropractors, and dentists love to sell things on contract and then hate to manage them. Those three folks are great to find groupings of properties if you want to just be a note investor. But keep in mind, note investing costs a lot of money. It's not something that you can go to a bank and land on traditionally until you have an established relationship. So
That's what I was going to ask. When you note invest, what do you how do you start that?
we just threw it on our radio ads. And at the end of our radio ad, it says, hey, by the way, I buy notes. And we get the sporadic phone calls for it.
Hey, if you're a doctor and you own a property, you need to, man.
Yep. Okay.
When you did did you self-manage first off, when you had your own portfolio? And then do you have any suggestions for how to handle that, or for property management companies, that's your way?
I'm not going to bash anyone from a property management company, but in general, they all suck.
Not a problem.
There's two guys in the group that are fairly active. Both of them are okay. Both of them, one is a low tier cost that does a decent job, and one is a high tier cost that does a pretty good job. But you're gonna be hard to cash flow if you're subbing out property management. That's what I liked about property management, was it actually preserved my cash flow, right? That 8 to 10% you're banking on giving away, well, that's usually all you're making on these properties for the first 3 years. We did self-manage. That was part of the burnout. We also self-maintained. That was part of the burnout. But I don't.
Help me understand that difference.
So self-managed is the servicing side. So talking to the tenants, making sure that goes through. Self-maintenance is physically sending a crew over there, unclog that toilet, making sure that you have the staff on hand, etc. Again, if you're subbing that out to Golden Rule, you're not going to make money that month. Period.
And Jim Bob never shows up.
And Jim Bob doesn't show up very often. Get real comfortable with YouTube if you're going to self-maintain. But yeah. Did I answer your question all the way?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Who's the best coach?
Ooh, best coach that I've worked with. Best coach that I've worked with is now a business partner. His name's Kevin Miller. What I will tell you is it's not on the business side. And like I said earlier, most of the problems that you have in business aren't business problems, they're personal problems. I'm a big fan of energy coaches and a big fan of discipline coaches. Happy to share. Yep.
Ryan, do it.
About 3 years ago, you rented up Traction. I know that was one that reposted a lot of things, and you guys mentioned that in your business. Is that something you still do a lot of things following that, those principles there? Or have you found a better method to kind of align the business and work off?
We did Traction for the first time in 2018, and I used it in my personal life first. I'm fat again, but in 18 to 19, I dropped like 120 pounds. I figured out how to pick it all back up since then. That was off of using Traction on the personal side. So that got rooted very deeply by doing it personal instead of trying to implement it in the business. 2020, we relaunched the rebrand with Traction. What I will tell you is Traction is very cumbersome to implement inside of a business, but a great framework. 10 Pillars is another good book. There's a hybrid that we use, so we still use the level 10 meetings. We still do our quarterly meetings, rocks issues, IDS type stuff from Traction. And that's actually what most businesses are lacking. Like we're in consulting work and doing that kind of stuff at the administrative level. Most businesses just lack administrative discipline. Highly recommend learning that stuff. That's a niche filler right there.
Again, so damn simple.
Yeah, it's so simple, bro.
Riley.
Mitch, we talked about the costs associated with marketing. We talked about the different methods. We talked about developing a website. Would you say there's a certain threshold that makes sense? If an investor is looking for 100, I understand the need to have that name out there as a website and face. But if someone's trying to pick up ones and twos, would you still advise?
If you're using marketing that's not direct to consumer, then you need a website because they're going to Google you before they call you back. It doesn't have to be a robust $30,000 everything flashes that you can get on it.
Like $500.
Yeah, like you can literally do a Wix website, get some basic SEO going on it, write a couple blog posts, do a little bit of social proof of, hey man, I closed this deal this month. Like that's going to go a long, long way and be a huge reputation boost for you.
I think Sebastian could probably do that for anyone, like real quick, or you can just Google it and do it yourself. It's not, you don't have that, because like the analytics on the website are like, they come and they don't stay around. They just want to know that you have a website, maybe the about page, and then they're gone.
Yeah. We actually get, I think we're averaging 6 web forms a week right now.
So like that's, I would say that's different than what he's asking for though, right? You know, like
Yeah.
you're lead generating, you're setting up things to get people to call and like get you just a general like, is this a real person from Des Moines that's legit? Because those of you that wholesaler, like in general investing, June of 22, Nebraska outlawed wholesaling, and like we had a huge influx of wholesalers, like
Tons of them.
massive, and you're like, you guys don't even know our market, but
I want to
we
read
know-
the soapbox during that.
we know. Hold on one second. We know as investors that they don't know, but the homeowner doesn't know. So you have to set yourself as an investor that wants to buy their property. You have to set yourself apart above that. So go ahead. Soapbox, let's go.
Yeah, no, so on the wholesaling side, I do think that more regulation will be coming. We've pushed it.
When you say you know, like how do you know this?
I had dinner with the governor.
Solid. Like, it said wholesaling sucks. What do you tell her?
She didn't realize how big of an issue it was until I brought it to her attention. It was already, she knows of legislation that was around there. I can't speak for what she will or won't do, but it's at least on the radar, and I believe it'll start getting pushed around in the next year and a half.
I've heard the same thing from different sources. So
Yeah.
yes, maybe it's your fault, but not fault.
Not directly my doing, but definitely have the underpinnings of
Yeah.
it. Sorry guys that are wholesaling, like just get licensed. That's the easy way.
But just yeah. Any other questions?
How is being a licensed agent similar to wholesaling?
The question was, how is being a licensed agent similar to wholesaling? Common misconception inside of real estate is you don't have to be competitive on real estate rates. A lot of people believe that you're going to list a house for 6 to 7%. It's all negotiable, right? If I list a house for somebody, I'm probably listing it at 12 to 15%. And they don't care because they understand it, which makes me allowably get the same fee that you're getting, but put them in their best interest.
You as the wholesaler,
Me as
like,
yeah,
no,
if
like
you're a wholesaler.
you're talking to
Yeah.
the wholesaler, and you as the wholesaler can get the same fee if you're a real estate agent, you just list it at 12 instead of 7.
Yes, exactly.
Did that blow anyone else's minds? Because I get that, and I've seen that. I understand it, but
I will tell you.
I think a lot of
this is
wholesalers
very
don't understand it.
Yeah, you can do everything you're doing wholesaling completely compliant with the state law and represent the fiduciary responsibility of that client by getting them the most money for the property, right? And you still make a pretty good cut of it. We've done a fair amount of it. We're doing more of it this year.
And so, like, a perspective I'm going to add on to that. The thought process is when you sell a house as an agent, you have to split the commission 50-50. That's actually a broker rule from my understanding, right? And so you can actually indicate, I'm going to pay the buying agent, the person that's bringing the buyer, X%, and I as the seller am going to get a different percent, not a 50-50.
Yeah, no, I offer 2% to 2.5% on buy side.
I'm aware.
Yeah, I know. It pisses agents off, but in this market, honestly, guys, it doesn't matter. We've got 8 to 13 offers on pretty much every house we've listed recently. And we get a lot of grumpy agents that say, hey man, you're only paying 2%. I'm not showing them, like, cool. It doesn't, like, the cash buyers don't have agents anyway. So there's a lot of unrepresented buyers inside of this. So we're making that full fee on there. And when we don't, we don't. And I'm more than happy to do it. And the big difference between wholesaling and listing is the buyer or the seller gets to choose who they work with. It comes down to you as an agent to understand. The difference inside of that is they understand if something goes sideways, they pick that offer. It's not like wholesaling where the guy pulled out 5 minutes before closing and now you're scrambling trying to find funding in the middle.
Go ahead.
Kelly, hi.
Kelly.
Some of your failures, like, would be right.
No one ever asked the would you do right question. Thank you, Kelly.
Consistency.
You did that from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, we were always consistent. We were always hustling for leads. Consistency came from this type of group. I mean, we ran this for 8 years? Literally.
We, not me.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah, Darson stepped in 2020 roughly to MC with me, but I ran a group like this for roughly 8 years before handing it off, and now we just got too busy. So that was the consistency on generating wholesale leads. Literally, I've trained probably 40 wholesalers that are now direct competitors, which is cool. I don't really mind. It worked really well on that ramp-up phase, and then it cost me a whole lot of money.
I got one. So you just talked about traction. I got halfway through and put it down because I felt the opposite way. Tell me how I'm wrong. I felt it was my company wasn't big enough.
The question was, the statement was, he got halfway through traction and put it down because he felt his company wasn't big enough. I did it first on an individual level with my wife as a stakeholder on what she wanted. So we did a family plan with it. There was only 2 of us sitting at that table, but we made consistent meetings around it and made sure, like, hey, these are the milestones that we're shooting for. These are the issues we have to overcome. Like, we're going to tackle these right now and leave these to the side. Nobody's too small. If I can do it with one person, right? The company's not too small. Where we get bogged down as a company with traction is some of their meetings are cumbersome. You don't have to follow all the rules. Like,
Crazy concept.
yeah, it's just a book. It's just a reference. It's just bumpers, right? The level 10 meetings are useful, but that whole introduction part of a level 10 meeting where we're shooting the shit for 5 minutes doesn't really need to happen. What's important inside of there is we only shoot the shit for 5 minutes and then we move on. That's the piece that matters. Now we're going to get into real issues. Hey man, you said you're going to do X, Y, and Z. Are you on track or off track? That's like one other person. You can do that with yourself if you want to.
How'd your wife take that? Mine would not take that.
I mean, our wives are kind of similar.
Didn't take it well.
She needed structure. She wanted structure in our personal relationship, and her motivation was more family time. More family time, and she's like, don't die soon, so lose some weight, which I did. And then I found it again. She can't stop me. No.
I also wrote a book called What the Heck is EOS? It's a much shorter, condensed version for employees that their boss was saying, hey, we're going to do this traction thing. And it might be something to kind of get to quick what it is, and then
Employee. So Ryan was saying, like, what was it called? What the heck is
What
EOS?
the heck is EOS? It's the entrepreneur operating system is what traction is based on. So it's what they give to employees when a company says, hey, we're gonna roll out this whole L10 type stuff.
So the question is, or the statement was, is that there's another book for employees to give them this book that says, hey, we're going to implement this program. This is what we're implementing.
And why it's gonna be better.
And why it's going to be better for the company and employee. Because that's a communication. Like, I'm terrible at it. My wife is like, you're terrible at communication. How do you run a real estate business? I'm like, I know. But that's the thing. It's
Automation.
It's communication. That's not me. I don't know how I do it. Go ahead,
Can you
Michael.
talk a little more about how you're able to leverage your construction company to help you build this?
Sure.
How you work on that?
Yeah, our construction company was the pillar we stood on for a long time to make any money in real estate. There's two places you make money: when you buy it and saving costs on putting it together.
That's contradictory to what everyone says. Buying and like when you buy it is when you save money.
If you're wholesaling, that might be true, but you're not actually buying anything, so the phrase doesn't work. So,
So it's there's a two facets to
yeah,
that.
everyone misses, like, profit is two components, both revenue and cost, right? My construction company saved me a lot of costs. So all those learning issues that should have put me out of business, we were able to float over because of them. One of the best examples is on our first apartment complex that we did. The electrician shorted the main feed into the building by 3 foot, so we couldn't hook up either end. That wire was $86,000. To fix it, it was $93,000. If we weren't able to eat the margin on other parts of that project, that would have bankrupted me from the day we started. Construction, we leveraged throughout that process. I will say now our construction company makes us we don't do any third-party work. It's all internal. So our construction still saves us a lot of money, but the margins, because we don't need to buy something, we offer a lot less than you might, right? So when we do buy something, it's a lot higher return for us.
But I heard there's like you've always had an internal construction company.
Correct.
Who's the licensed GC?
State of Iowa, you don't have to be licensed, but it's true. As a GC, as long as you're carrying insurance, workers' comp, and filed with Iowa Workforce Development, you can be a GC pretty much everywhere. My dad is the GC though, and he's been doing this for 40 years, so that helps.
It's like somebody knows what they're doing.
Oh yeah. I grew up in the trade, so I don't do it, but I know how to get through managing a project.
It's tough to relate for a lot of us.
Yeah, I get it.
You know what I mean? Like that's hard.
Yeah. What's up, Tony?
Out of your design, do you have more than 3 companies, the marketing, the note, and then the construction?
Yeah, we have a lot of companies.
Yeah, well, okay, I guess those are your 3 main. Do you have any that are like as close to that? My second part of that question, which one makes you the most revenue out of those 3? They're all real estate investment-ish.
Yeah.
But it's like, which one's like your bread and
Thank
butter
you.
or your best?
Our top producing revenue is on the flip side, without
Like
question.
your construction company?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought in my head, but I wasn't sure.
Net growth. When you say profitable, I'm like, what is that? Like straight bottom line, make money, the most is the flip.
Yeah, without question.
And that's been the same way.
Construction company, you're talking about individual flip.
Yeah, so the way that we structure our entities, we have 3 entities. The main entities, like you're talking about, held in trust. One of them is an employment company. That's where our real estate commissions go into and also pays for our construction team. One of them is a flip company that hires the employment company. That flip company pays for all costs inside of the company and has direct attributable income to work in progress properties. The third company is our holding company that holds notes, rentals, etc. Right? The moment that if we're going to keep something as a note, anyone that's done a closing with me on the contract side will see like this company or this property is going to be assigned at closing to this entity. Right? We zero cost out, so that project didn't make $1 inside of the flip company. It's a zero out cost. Moves over to the other one. These are all LLCs held in trust with. Moves over to the other one at basis. And that's what we do our deferred revenue off of. Right now, in this year, I know our flip company will produce the most. 6 years from now, when all that deferred revenue actually hits, it'll be the contract company.
That was very deep, right? Like it was, right? Unless you own a business and you've got all these things going on. Is all that important to the investor that's like got, less than 5 properties?
From a structure standpoint, maybe. If I knew now what I knew, or if I knew 10 years ago what I know now, I would have saved a lot of money by restructuring correctly from day one. That's the magic.
Restructured.
I would have had separate entities from day one. Yep. And I would have had good cost controls in place so that I can look at percentage yields and all of that and see when a project is off cycle. We started with several companies, but everything was kind of like a liability cap. We get $6 million in this property or this company. Okay, we're going to move over to the next one. That was atrocious to try to track or maintain anything in because some of them had rentals, some of them were doing flips, some of them had contracts. I didn't have a clear way to separate incomes out and see where I'm actually making money. I just knew I was making money.
I kind of have a question for you. Like, if you guys aren't part of the Facebook group, I got you, Mila, I promise. You did like hey, this is the new company that I bought into, this is marketing, blah, blah. You mentioned in there, like, you don't market in Des Moines, or you don't send postcards in Des Moines. Is that true?
That's true, yeah.
Okay.
I don't do any mail media. I did do one batch just as a tester to see how bad we could screw it up. It was like 1,100 pieces to make sure that our fulfillment pieces were completed inside of that company.
Why not Des Moines?
I don't like FU calls, and mail media will get you a lot of FU calls.
Send them to somebody else.
I don't have to.
You're just like, I'm just not going to do that.
I'm just not going to do it, man. I don't want to do something that I don't want to do just because it makes money. I make enough money without doing things I don't like to do.
It sounds so damn simple.
Someone asked me who's in Des Moines, who joined that program, like, how should I go about this? I said, with integrity. Whatever you're doing is with integrity. If you want to do it for a minute, do it however you want. If you want to do it as a career, do it with integrity. And how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? That old cliche phrase.
Mila, sorry, 1 second. Mila, go ahead.
So back to the accounting and all your different companies, how do you put software or program or what do you use to track all that with?
Great question. Question is, what do I use to track everything? QuickBooks Online. It'll do everything, literally. You just got to know how to set it up right. Talk to Dave. He can probably help you out.
But that costs money, Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, it does cost money. It costs, you can get the base plan on QuickBooks for $15. You can get the advanced plan, which is what we use for all our companies, for $85. If you have an accountant, they get, I think, a 33% discount. Is that right?
30%.
30% discount.
Dave, the token accountant in the room, CPA.
$5 in the next few months.
Okay. So you can't get that percentage discount anywhere else from my experience. So if you're using an accountant, talk to an accountant, get them to set up the QuickBooks for you inside of there, save the money. It's not that expensive.
Does that include the tracking of the notes and all that?
So we track our notes in Excel, but obviously, so we do our amortizations in Excel. It's a pretty robust, it's not Excel, it's in Sheets technically. It's pretty robust, but yes, I can tell you at any given moment what my principal balance is on a note, plus what the interest rate is, so the per diem's easy to calculate in QuickBooks.
When you're the face, you said be the face of everything, but then when you get to be in multiple businesses, how do you split your time to the things that only you can do when everybody wants you to, since you're the face, they
Yeah.
want to deal with you? How do you make that work?
So you have to figure out where the top revenue pieces are for you to be.
Okay.
Our follow-up has my voice on most of it. If I'm texting you, it's in my voice. Or my sound. It's not my voice, but the way that I'm talking to you via text message sounds like me. When you come to the office to sign a contract, you're not meeting with me, you're meeting with one of my team members. On an appointment, you're probably meeting with me because it's a relationship building. At closing, we're not gonna talk. Like if I'm in the office, I'm gonna come shake a hand, right? But generally speaking, because of the way that we're set up, like I've introduced Jen, my closer, from day one. Like on that appointment, you already know who she is. So you're comfortable with her. I've already told you the dude that you talked to on the phone was my uncle, so you're comfortable with him. So it's about introducing your team and having that consistency. From a multiple business perspective, it's really picking the top line revenue. And also like for us, everything flows from one place. So like if you call Ballpoint Marketing, which is a print house that we bought into recently, you're never gonna talk to me. But if you join like our mastermind, I'm leading a lot of group sessions in that.
Ryan?
What are you using for a CRM, or what have you used in the past for CRM that really progressed to?
Good question. Question was, what CRMs have I used and which ones have I progressed to? I've used all of them. I am using REI Blackbook presently, but that's only because I've automated so much inside of it. It's a good software if you want to take the time to build it out, but that comes to consistency. Literally took me 3 weeks and like 70 hours a week, a lot of long nights to get it right. I would convert right now to HubSpot in a heartbeat. That's what we're using for our other companies. HubSpot is expensive though, and it takes a lot of third-party integrations. What we've used in the past, Simply, we've used, it's good. It's not super customizable, but it's low cost and easy to enter. As a starting investor, that's where I would recommend people go. Stay away from the Podios. Stay away from the one-off mastermind push type stuff. Like most of those things are garbage. Read simply REI Black Book or HubSpot.
I used to be in the HR world and I did a lot of like personal assessments on people. Like you have a skill set that's very unique, right? Like you're an engineer, the analytics, the data, no?
Information engineer.
Okay, thank you. I literally don't know the difference. But can every investor do the things that you're saying?
Yeah. The technical setup in a CRM is literally drag and drop. So it's like, I want a text message to go out 4 days from now and say this. And then we're gonna wait for 6 days and so say this. That's the build out that I'm talking about inside of these CRMs. Anybody can do that if you're willing to take the time to figure out the customer journey and figure out the time of how you want to talk to people. Anyone can do it.
The customer journey.
Yeah.
What you need to say and when you need to say it.
Yeah.
And I hear that and I'm like, it's not my skill set. I know the things to do.
Years and never figured it out to the extent that he was doing.
What was that? You use REI Black Book?
Like that was the first thing that we ever used, and we never customized it enough to actually like keep it. Like if we would have customized it in the beginning the way that he did his, we'd still be using it today probably.
So he's just saying one of the programs that Mitch uses, like it was not, they didn't customize it enough to be able to continue to keep using it. I see it. It's the doing it. Like you have a mindset. The way your mind works is a little different than some of us.
Fair.
Not that it's good or bad.
No, I get
but
it. Anyone can learn it though, man. Like that's the piece. Like everyone wants to hire that integrator, right? That's a traction thing. So visionary or integrator, everyone wants to be the visionary because it sounds sexy. The reality is you're never going to hire an integrator. You're gonna have to figure it out.
like in the process.
Yeah, good luck, bro. It's gonna go horrible.
Thank you. So I have to be the integrator?
You have to learn
Said by an integrator?
Yeah. You have to be the integrator until you understand where to hand it off. If you're asking somebody to come in and do the thing, they're not going to do the thing.
Yes, I follow.
Yeah.
Management. Well, whole different. Can people reach out to you?
If you guys do want to get connected with us, this is a quick sales pitch. I don't usually do them.
Totally fine. And when I reach out to him, I was like, Mitch, like the sales pitch could be the last 10, 15 minutes. Like that's totally fine. But we want to talk about in general investors that can't spend $3,000 to $5,000 a month, right? And he's like, nah, my seat's already sold. I literally don't care.
Yeah.
I was like, thank you.
I pushed a thing inside of our Facebook group for 2 seats in Des Moines. That sold out instantly, like literally 7 minutes after posting. We already had 4 appointments booked.
So why don't you
sold 2 seats? Yeah. What's that?
More? No?
No. So we're not selling any more for that because from a mail standpoint, I don't want to saturate for those guys. However, if you want to get plugged in with us, I do own part of Create Cash Flow. It's a mastermind group owned by Ryan Dossi. We came into that to do all the integration work and build out all the administrative back end. Right now, it's very sales heavy and very wholesale heavy. My intention is to root most of the wholesale out and bring people into long-term wealth.
What did Ryan Dossi start? What was his name?
So Ryan Dossi owns Call Porter, Ballpoint Marketing, Create Cash Flow, and he's got like 6 or 7 other flip companies.
Anything else you want to say?
No, that's it, man.
Okay.
Simple sales pitch.
So now network with people around you, have drinks, grab a card, go grab coffee, drinks with them on another day, whatnot. So thank you for coming. I appreciate it. That's it.